What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Barefoot Garage. Tonight we're upgrading from boring rubber brake lines to stainless steel. All right, time for another upgrade to the 914. You guys can sense a theme here. I do a lot of stuff to the 914, especially a lot leading up to Oktoberfest coming up next month. So I don't know when this video is going to come out, but right now, today, is about a month from Oktoberfest. And so I am trying to get all the upgrades I need done to the car, my trailer, make sure the truck is ready to go so I can haul to Tennessee and back for that event, which I'm looking forward to. I hope to see a lot of you guys there. And so tonight we are putting on these DOT braided brake lines. I ordered these back in July. They've been on back order, and then magically they appeared one day. So the rubber brake lines on the car were replaced in 2017, and when I bought them, they were the bargain basement cheapest lines I could get on Rock Auto. When I put the car together initially, I had a super tight budget, and I said I want to put the car on the road for $5 grand, including the purchase price of the car for $2 grand. So pretty achievable, and I got it done. But I do think it's time to upgrade this a little bit. So I've already upgraded the master cylinder. I've got that brace in there. I did that a couple of weeks ago. Let's see that video here. And we're gonna go ahead and do these brake lines as well. So I'll give you guys an extra chance to see the Motive Power Bleeder, which is one of my favorite tools, especially for a 914. Makes this so easy to do by myself. But let's take a look at the brake lines, and we're gonna start in the back. Ideally, I'm gonna put in the two rear, bleed it through the rear, put the wheels on, put it back on the ground, lift up the front, and do the thing in the front. I know the fronts are easy because they're super easy to get to, and I'm not worried about it at all. The back is kind of a hassle, and I've already got some of the heat exchanger taken out from my oil cooler, and so we'll take a look at it from there. So let's go into the car. Excuse the air conditioning noise, it's a necessity here. So rear caliper, hard line, my rubber line starts right there. As you can see, it's a good shot of the oil cooler with the feed and the return lines going up to the cooler way up there. So this factory rubber line, it's actually going through these. I'm not sure if I'll do that again. And it meets a factory hard line up here where my hard line wrench is. So there's a clip here and a hard line here. So I think what I'm gonna do, I know this is 17 millimeter right here. I've got my line wrench on the upper, and I think we're gonna pull that. I know it's gonna drip, and I know I've gotta bleed it out, so I'm not really worried about it. So we're gonna try to make as little mess as possible. So we're gonna crack this off and then compare lengths. I've got the two lengths of hose underneath here that it came with, and so we'll compare those and go ahead and put one on this side, and we'll pop on the other side. So you can tell I have the 10 here, the J pipe going up, which I'm not putting back in. I have the heat exchanger valve, whatever you want to call it, on there off. And then obviously I've got this stuff kind of in the way of whatever else I'm doing. If your car was stock and you didn't have oil lines, and you didn't have a 4-gauge wire going to the front, and you didn't have 2 lines for a fuel injection system, this would be really easy to access, but I've kind of made it hard for myself. So I'm dealing with everything I have in the way here, and I am working on the ground on my back. So we're gonna go ahead and try to crack this thing off here and see if we can get it to give up that brake line. All right, so that is the best angle I can provide you, and it is better than the angle I can provide myself here. So I'm just gonna try to pull as much of this out of the way as I can, hoping that these are the same size, and hopefully this brake line gives it up pretty easily here for us here. It's been on here for, gosh, I guess 4 years now, which is how long I've had the car, and the access is terrible in here. I really can't get much of a pick on this, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't mess up this line and turn it the wrong way or do anything like that. So, all right, looks like that's gonna be the winner. Get this 17 millimeter on the flexible hose side and try. All right, I think that's gonna do it. I'm hoping that from here, I can just do this by hand. Yep, looks like that's gonna work for us. So at some point it's gonna start leaking itself out, and I'm hoping to not lose all of my fluid here in doing this job. And we're out. Those clips were kind of a pain, so I'll probably put them in a little bit differently. I ended up just kind of prying it off with a screwdriver from both ends. So a little bit of drippage. I don't think it's really going to leak out of here too bad. But the shorter one is the one to go. So here's your other one, your front and your rear. So let's go ahead and pop that rear one in, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And then we'll go into the other side and then start bleeding. All right, so I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see this and I can see this. So here's my end of my stainless line. I'm going to keep it on one side of the oil cooler lines. So I'm going to basically put it up here, get this adjusted, hold the top, and then I'm just going to do it by hand as far as I can. And it should go in there pretty well. But I really just want to do it by hand to make sure that it is fitting correctly. And so hopefully a little bit of adjustment here. This line will go into its place. Can snap it in and get the other side done. So like I said, you can see I've got all this extra wiring and extra stuff going on, and it makes it kind of a pain. So for now I'm just going to pull all this out of the way, get as straight a shot into this as I can so it will line up. I'm assuming both ends are exactly the same, and there we go. So now I'm holding this top nut and I'm spinning the brake line on, and I will loose fit both sides and then I'll final fit them. So. Now that we are fitted up top, I'll show you guys what we're going to do down here. And it's really just simple. I'm going to make this connection right here. So what I'm going to end up doing is trying to decide how I'm going to run it around these oil lines. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is just running it on the other side. I think I'm going to run it right here. It's the simplest. Make my connection as straight as I can make it. And we'll punch that thing through there and put our pin in. So I'm going to make that final tighten on the bottom here first. Clip it, do the easy part, and then I'll go up and do the other side. So I'm not really worried about these having too much interaction. I don't like that it pushes it down a little bit like that, but on the other side was no good. I don't really like them doing that. So I'll play with it a little bit and then we'll get it tightened up. All right, clipped and tightened on this side. So I did decide to run the oil lines on the inside and run this up around it. I don't like that in between thing. This is like abrasion shield on top of an AN line and heat shield. There's literally no way this is gonna braid through. So I'm gonna do that finicky piece up top, and then we'll button up the tens and jump around to the other side. And I'll show you guys what tens I took off to kind of get to this access point. This side is buttoned up. You can see the 4-gauge going to the front. I put that clip in and I got my stainless steel line in, and I did try to hold it and only turn the nut on the hard line and not spin a bunch of twists into that stainless line so it can come down nice and smooth and right to go out to our caliper. So we're going to button this side up and then go to the other side. All right, so it's basically rinse and repeat on the passenger side. You guys can see I'm right up against the air conditioner, so I'm gonna show you a couple of highlights here, but not a ton of going on this side. So let's go in there and take a look at the 10s, and I'll tell you what I probably think you should take out. You may be able to do it without doing that, but I think that's what's gonna make it easiest for me. So your brake connection is actually right here. And now that I look at this side, I might try this with none of the 10s removed. So I'm pretty happy with how this setup works, and I think that this will work without it. There's no other junk in the way like there is on the passenger or on the driver's side. So let me just cue the time lapse, and we'll see if we can get this knocked out. All right, side two's done. It definitely helps to take the pipe coming off that goes to the little heater valve. For me, I just run the bolts on the bottom, not that stupid one on the top that's hard to get to, and I just zip them out, pull it out, do your thing. So I ended up taking it off at the caliper first, and then sliding the closed end of my 17mm wrench all the way up with a little with the angle on it, and then that made it a lot easier to get it undone. I was really having a hard time because the I'll show you on the line here. The flats for the box wrench are so thin that it makes it really hard to get the open end wrench onto that. That is one of my things that I really like about the new ones, is that the piece for the wrench is about twice the thickness. So it makes it where you can use the open end of the wrench to make that work. So the other side of the car is buttoned up. And what I'm gonna do is get the motive power bleeder out and bleed that. Here's side two, much simpler. Let's get some light down there. Much simpler than side one. There's really nothing in the way and it makes it super easy. So ignore the dirt in the car and focus on the shiny, clean, new parts. The other thing we've got to do is adjust this parking brake. You guys can probably tell I got new rotors on here. For some reason, the rotors came with a surface painted, which was a huge pain. But my parking brake cable is too tight. This is as close as I can get it. And so I need to adjust this because I'd like to have my parking brake back, especially going up to the mountains. So I'll probably mess with that for a few minutes. We'll bleed, and then we'll go to the front. Time to bleed. This is the Motive Products Power Bleeder. It has got the adapter for the, I don't know, Euro-German style master cylinder reservoir. And so basically, we're gonna put some fluid in here. Now, it's not a full bleed, so it's not like I am putting a ton of fluid in here. Yes, it's not a sealed container, sorry. Not sorry. So we're gonna put some in here, and then we'll go up to the front of the car. That should be more than enough for what we're doing. And we will get it hooked to the master cylinder and pressurize it. So basically, it's like your average garden weed sprayer, but for brakes. So it does draw fluid from the very bottom, so you don't have to care, I don't care, if there's air in there. So let's go up to the front of the car, we'll get it going. So I've left the back jacked up. I've got another vacuum style Harbor Freight bleeder. Doesn't work, but it's a great catch can, and it has a hook, which is more valuable than you know. So, see if I can show you guys this here. All right, here's underneath the hood of my car, and this is just gonna screw in place. Now, in order to screw this on, it's already attached to the reservoir, and it's gonna twist it up a bit, so sometimes I can put a couple twists the other way in it before I do that. And then this guy just screws in place of the cap. So normally it doesn't give me this much trouble. There we go. So we'll get this guy in here, and you can undo all of this twisty as you feel fit. But basically you need to make sure that this joker is tight because you're going to pressurize it. And it's going to pressurize what's in the master cylinder. All right, there we go. So different people think different things. I have the 914 rubber easy install setup, so it has a better connection at the master than it would normally. With those little push deal, I wouldn't pressurize it very much. So for now, I'm just going to pump it until I get to, let's call it 10. So you can see my gauge is at 10, leaking back here, getting some bubbles out. We'll call that good. Now, this is all pressurized. Doesn't matter if I touch the brake pedal. We're gonna come on back here. I'll set you guys up so that you can see what I'm doing. And then we are gonna bleed some brakes here. So basically, I'm just gonna hook this up, get my catch can, hook it on my handy dandy hook there, put it on the bleeder. I typically like to go ahead and put the closed end of the wrench onto the bleeder first, and then crack it open and let it flow. So this bleeder is 7 mil. I don't know why I have like 3 7 mils and 1 8 mil bleeder, but that is what it is. I did rebuild these calipers on my own, and so they've been working great ever since. So I'm just gonna crack that open until I get nice steady flow. And so you can kind of see, sorry I don't have the light, it has got brake fluid flowing through it. And we're just gonna wait until we get a little bubble out of there and make sure that everything seems fine. It's hard to tell when there's no bubbles if the fluid is actually flowing, but you can stop it and restart it. It is wise, or at least I found. Still want to go in and hit the master cylinder once or twice. I don't think any air got all the way back there, but I'll be honest, this seems pretty well bled. I don't think I really lost that much. Probably in the time it took me to do the other side, it gravitated back whatever little bit was lost in here. So let me tighten this up. Let's go look at the other side. All right, sorry about the lighting. That's really the best I can do right here. And we're back on the driver's side now. And so let's see if this one can provide any bubbles for us here. Me, tighten that bleeder screw too tight. I really have not bled these brakes since I put on the 914 rubber master cylinder, so they should be maybe in due of a little bit of service here. So I don't know. There's some bubbles, really not much coming out, but we'll let this run for a couple minutes here, or for a minute or two, and I'll close it, and I'll take the pressure off at the power bleeder, go in there and stomp on the pedal and see if everything's good. It's an easy thing to repeat if you have to, but it is kind of necessary to jack up the thing and take off the wheels, or at least on my car it is. So we'll let it bleed out for a minute here, and we'll go check it. I like to just shut it off, turn it back on a couple times. I don't remember exactly how much this was, but for a couple $100, if that's what it was, highly worth it, especially for your European car guys, because get one with your buddies and share it, and you guys will be happy that you did. So I'm gonna go check it, and then if this is all good, we'll move to the front. All right, everything feels fine. Pedal feels the same. I'm not super well in tune with what the brakes feel like, because I've never really gotten it all the way to the limit, other than a little bit of autocross. I have too much tire and not enough brake, so it's never gonna lock up a tire or do anything like that other than on the dirt. So we're gonna button this up and go to the front. All right, back's done. I've cleaned up, I've done a couple other things, put on a fresh shirt. We're ready for the front. Yes, it's a little off because I've got two different jack stands in there, but it'll work. So we're gonna jump in and look at these front lines here. These should be significantly easier because you got one connection there, and you got one connection there. So it's gonna be just a matter of pop it off, put the new one on as quickly as we can, and make sure that everything is sealed back up. Still got the power bleeders hooked up there. I just let the pressure off, and then we'll be ready to rip. So I've not really ever shown this front end. These are calipers that I've just rebuilt. You can see I've bashed a little bit for the tire clearance, not a ton. You can see where the air conditioning was made to come through. That's probably some of the worst rust right there on the whole car. So don't have my corner lights hooked up. I deleted them with this sticker, and I am running a 1/4 inch aluminum spacer in here with the track studs. So that makes sure that I clear the brake caliper. You can see in the past there was like washers, and they were using washers under the lug bolts, and it was rubbing. You can see on the wheel here, I don't know if you can still see that on the inside or not. Yeah, not really. So you were wondering, yes, these are 265 50/15s in the front. Yes, it is too much, but 15-inch tire sizes are kind of junk. So these Hankook Ventus is the best I've got, and we're gonna run that until we can afford a Hoosier or Lifted or whatever we're gonna do. I'm committed to these wheels for now. I love my Jackmans. They weigh 1,000,000 pounds, but they are super cool and super retro. So let's dive into this first brake line. And now you see why I saved that for front. That took, I don't know, 5 minutes. Took longer to collect all the tools I wanted and get it oriented. Super happy with that. It's gonna have tons of travel, tons of flex around the car. And as we turn and move, I don't even think the line was unhooked for 60 seconds. So I could probably get away without bleeding it. But I am gonna go ahead and bleed it just to be sure, to make sure that this all feels right and good. So let's go do the other side and then bleed it up. stainless steel brake line upgrade on the 914 is done. Until I get out on the road, I'm not sure how much of a pedal feel I'm going to be able to tell a difference in, but some nice peace of mind, some fresher and more modern and DOT approved stainless braided lines in for my brakes. So do yourself a favor and get that motive power bleeder. It's like the easiest job other than just the ones that are kind of fiddly in the back. If you have that power bleeder, you hook it up, do it, you're good to go. Makes the best fleeting brakes I've ever done on a 914. I've done it 10 times at this point. So stay tuned for more 914 content as we get ready for Oktoberfest in a couple of weeks here. Right here on YouTube is Barefoot Garage Jacks. Let us know if you're coming to the event or if you're working on your 914 to get ready or hoping to make it. Between episodes, you can follow what we're working on at Barefoot Garage Jacks over on Instagram. See you guys next time.